Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio, presented by Brotherwell Brewing.
It's Gronkowski back again.
Here's Paul Catalina, Steve May, and Grayson Grundhaver.
Welcome into the Fantasy Football Show here on 365 Sports NFL channel. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Grayson Grundhaver. Steve May is in Chicago right now and will not be with us this week, so you'll have to wait one more week for his knowledge. Grayson, I did not have a great first fantasy week. I went 0-3. A bunch of guys got hurt early in games. One of my leagues, Raheem Mostert, which right now the 49ers, to me, are a huge, huge issue, and we'll talk about that in a second. How did you do week one?
Yeah, I did okay. I was 3-3, so I was kind of right where I wanted to be. Unfortunately, like you, there were two guys that I loved this year, and they both went down with major injuries. Raheem Mostert, one of them. Even worse for Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon was inactive. I had both of them, so basically I had nothing. Unfortunately, Raheem Mostert was probably going to run for probably 150 yards and like 4 touchdowns against Detroit, so sad about that. And then Jerry Jeudy was the other one. He looked fantastic that first week of the year, and then he had the terrible injury. I mean, it just looked gruesome, but he'll be back in 6 weeks.
Yeah, but it's also a high ankle sprain, and those things are always tricky to come back from, especially for wide receivers. I had Jerry Jeudy in a team too, and I have to determine how to use my IR spot between him and Deebo Samuel. I'll probably just rotate it off until one of them's back, but didn't want to lose either of those guys because I think and the other thing about, we can get into that, but there's a lot of injuries that affect other players as well. And let's start with the 49ers. Raheem Mostert is the starter. He has 2 carries for 20 yards and gets hurt, which is really a buzzkill considering he was averaging 10 yards a carry when he got hurt. So he was going to have a good day against Detroit. So then most people, like me and you, who drafted Raheem Mostert, had his handcuff, which we thought was Trey Sermon. That is not necessarily true. Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch, and the running back depth chart behind Raheem Mostert now appears to be Elijah Mitchell, a 6th-round pick, and former Baylor star JaMycal Hasty. So what do we do about 49ers running backs right now, Grayson?
Yeah, so probably today everyone got their waiver wire picks in. So you had to go in and put money use your waiver wire priority on Elijah Mitchell. I did that in one league. I went all in, spent a lot of money on Elijah Mitchell. In all of my other leagues, I was more conservative, and so I didn't get him. Reason for that. So my take on it and what I've heard today is Raheem Mostert was going to be their starting running back. Elijah Mitchell and JaMycal Hasty are really good on special teams. So my thought process right now is that, okay, those two were brought in to be a factor on special teams, something Trey Sermon does not do. And Raheem Mostert might have gotten 20 carries in this game. So I guess my thought is, okay, what if next week Trey Sermon is their lead back? Elijah Mitchell is, maybe a spell back. JaMycal Hasty's still probably going to be the 3rd down back, and they use those two for special teams. We don't know how it's going to go, and Kyle Shanahan has been horrific this year because we haven't even talked about what happened to Brandon Aiyuk on Sunday, which is just baffling.
I'm going to talk to you about that in a second.
Yeah, just baffling stuff in the report that came out today. I don't know what this guy's doing. Aiyuk must have done something horrible to Kyle Shanahan over the offseason. But anyways, yeah, it's a tough situation. I personally think you hold on to Trey Sermon, you see what happens. If you wanted to pick up Elijah Mitchell, go for it. Those are the 2 backs to own. And also don't forget, in 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, I guess, Jeff Wilson's going to come back too. So that backfield is just a disaster right now.
Yeah, it's kind of the new 49ers, or not the new 49ers, the new Patriots, where actually, for the first time ever, we maybe see a Patriots lead back. Damian Harris had a very good game until the end last week, and he fumbled. But maybe we'll see that disease spread over to the West Coast with the multi-headed back monster that doesn't do you any good for fantasy football. Now, let's talk about Brandon Aiyuk, a player you are very high on and are so high on you essentially have convinced me to draft him in 2 leagues. That I could get him. Okay, I've got him in 2 leagues. He played sparingly in week 1 against the Lions, a game that the 49ers won easily, even though the Lions mounted some BS comeback at the end. But Aiyuk did not play, and it comes out that he's been dealing with a hamstring injury. And Kyle Shanahan said today that he'll play more as long as he practices more. But Grayson, it's not making me feel confident about how Kyle Shanahan feels about Brandon Aiyuk in this exact moment when I need him to be healthy and producing on my fantasy roster.
Well, did you hear the other quote from Kyle Shanahan today? He said, if he wants to be out there every single play, he's got to be a lot better than the guy behind him. I mean, just a total, I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I know he was injured. I know he had the hamstring, but come on. If you watch Brandon Aiyuk play last year, that guy is special. That guy is a very, very good player. And so it's just a really weird situation. Of course, I really liked Brandon Aiyuk last year, and coming into this year, I like him as well. The issue is that I didn't really get him in many places this year because he was turning into a 5th-round pick, and that was just tough for me. So I don't have a lot of shares of him. I loved him last year. It's unfortunate what's going on because I think he's way too talented for this. And, of course, Deebo Samuel looks amazing in week 1, so it's just kind of a weird situation. And to be honest, for the 49ers, you can only trust 2 of them, and one of them is going to be George Kittle. So it's just kind of, what do you do now? I don't really know the answer to that, but I am concerned, and I would not play Brandon Aiyuk this week. I think you got to see it to believe it at this point.
Yeah, and I'm a big Deebo Samuel fan, and I had him in a bunch of leagues last year. He helped me win games late when he finally got healthy, and to see him healthy and doing well does my heart good as a person who really enjoys him as a player, but not so much as a person who doesn't have him on his roster this year. So it was a little upsetting. And I think right before I drafted Brandon Aiyuk in one of the leagues, somebody took Deebo Samuel, and I was like, oh, God, I knew I'd like, well, but at the time I was like, well, toss up one or the other. It's going to be 1 week, 1 the next week. But it did not look like that. 9 catches and like 190-something yards and touchdowns for Deebo last week. Other things happening around the league. Look, this is really quick. It happened today. DeMarcus Lawrence broke his foot. If you were going to play the Cowboys defense this week against the Chargers, I only assume it's because that's what you had to do and not what you wanted to do. But now there's not a matchup coming up here soon where I would take the Cowboys defense, even though they did create some turnovers against Tampa Bay, because DeMarcus Lawrence won't be there, and Randy Gregory more than likely won't be there because he's on the COVID list. So if you have a team defense with the Cowboys, don't play them this week. Not that you would have, but now with extreme prejudice, do not.
Yeah, and that's my bonanza matchup for the week. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that Chargers-Cowboys game. And also, we're probably going to get to this, but Michael Gallup probably out 5 weeks, I think 3 to 5 weeks. So it looks to me like, first of all, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, upgrade there. Cedric Wilson probably going to come in and take a lot of those snaps. He's an interesting waiver wire guy. On the other side of things for the Chargers, man, Mike Williams, he looked fantastic this past week, got the most targets of his career, most receptions of his career. He looked great, he and Keenan Allen. And then also, if you're streaming a tight end, Jared Cook might be an interesting option this week.
Yeah, Jared Cook. Also for the Cowboys, I'm going to go back and say that the tight ends might be interesting with Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin, maybe even Blake Jarwin getting some more receptions. Cedric Wilson caught a pass or 2 last week from Dak, and they're going to throw the ball a lot. So if you're in a league that you really need him, Cedric Wilson probably not going to, do worse than 4 or 5 points for you because he's going to catch a couple passes.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, he actually took away some of CeeDee Lamb's production at times last year as well from the slot. And Cedric's not a bad player, to be honest. I actually think he's pretty explosive. So, yeah, I think he's holds some value, but only in deeper leagues.
Yeah. Also, if you are an owner of any player on the Washington football team, Tyler Heineke is going to be the starter this week. They're still without Curtis Samuel. He's on IR. I don't know what that means for Terry McLaurin or Antonio Gibson, but, Fitzmagic is on the IR, and I don't know if that's something he'll come back from this year. You don't know. He's going to be at least 3 weeks in the IR. They designated him return. But Taylor Heineke in at quarterback. So now your players past McLaurin and Logan Thomas and Antonio Gibson are all in wait-and-see mode to see how this offense reacts to that.
Yeah, and it's a hip injury, and everything I've heard is that it's very similar to the one Tua had at Alabama, just slightly not quite as severe. But when you're an older guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm nervous. I don't know that he'll get another opportunity to be a starting quarterback again. So feel bad for him, of course, and feel bad for this offense. Terry McLaurin was a popular breakout player this year. I don't see that happening now. I think he's probably going to hover between wide receiver 15 and wide receiver 24 for the rest of the year. Antonio Gibson, I think he's fine because he had just a ton of touches in week 1. So I think he'll be okay. But again, his ceiling gets lowered because of touchdowns. And Logan Thomas, kind of whatever. He's just a top 10 tight end, maybe. Top 12, kind of around there. But yeah, you downgrade all of these players, and it's too bad because I think a lot of people had high hopes for that offense.
All right, before we go to the next segment, which is start 'em, sit 'em, what are we to make of the Packers? It's early. That was a really bad game for Aaron Rodgers and a bad look for Aaron Rodgers. You spend your whole offseason chirping about how the organization doesn't respect you and they should just move on, and you're off the MVP season and that. And look, I get it. Like, I'm more or less on Aaron Rodgers' side. I completely understand, but to go out there and he has a bad game, which means Aaron Jones has a bad game, which means Devontae Adams has a bad game, which means Robert Tonyan has a bad game, and any Packer has a bad game. I think it's too early to sell on any of the Packers players, but I am concerned that if they get in any kind of losing streak, given the tension around Aaron Rodgers, that could go south in a hurry.
Yeah, worst performance of Aaron Rodgers' career against the Saints as far as fantasy production goes. He was absolutely terrible, and therefore the whole offense was terrible. But one thing I will mention, as far as Aaron Jones goes, he had all the snaps basically up until the fourth quarter when they weren't going to play him. Why would you run him down by 20 points? The game's over. Again, I would just wait and see, and I am predicting this week they are going to go out on Monday Night Football and absolutely hammer the Detroit Lions, probably by 30 points. I bet Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams have monster games, so I'm not too worried about them yet. Detroit's a nice get-right opponent at Lambeau Field. I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, that's probably right. And again, but if it's not, then I'm going to get concerned. Really concerned. One more thing to note, Saquon Barkley is questionable. He's going to be a sketchy play all year as he comes back from that knee injury, especially this week on a short week on a Thursday night.
Yeah, my prediction is we are not going to have Saquon Barkley in our lineup for our Thursday DFS lineup. I am very concerned about him for at least this week. It's just he's on a restricted pitch count, and he didn't look very good in week 1. So I'm a little nervous about playing him this week. I know a lot of people probably have to if you took him in the first or second round, but I'm very, very nervous about it. And I don't know if I could play him. If I have another option, I'd probably lean that way.
Yeah. All right, we go to break now. We are the Fantasy Football Show here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Brought to you, as always, by Brotherwell Brewing. I didn't do this at the beginning, so I'm going to do it now. And Grace, I'm just going to tell you, this is how my first fantasy week went.
That good?
Yeah, pretty good.
That's a pretty good week.
That was a rough week right there, but it's delicious beer right there. And that's how it went. But the good thing we have Brotherwell to help wash it all down and get ready for the next one. When we come back, start of Sit-em with Grayson Grunhafer. This is the Fantasy Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, brought to you by Brotherwell Brewing. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICKEM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICKEM125.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Please like and subscribe to the NFL channel you're watching this on right now. Do it right now. Do it right now. Right now. Do it. Do it right now. You think that's effective, Grayson? Do you think people would do it or just be annoyed?
I think so. We have all kinds of content up.
Yeah,
from
tons.
Texans to Cowboys to multiple fantasy football shows this week.
Yeah.
Per week. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff. Definitely subscribe. I think you're doing a pretty good job selling it.
We'll have the Believe in the Cowboys podcast with me and Danny White up tomorrow. And we'll have also Catalina's Cowboy Corner starting on Friday. Grayson's Fantasy Football Run the League is there. So there's tons of stuff that you can. It's not just the three chatterheads you see every week talking fantasy football. It's much, much more than that. So Cowboys, Texans, NFL talk all over the 365 NFL channel. And right there, Brotherwell Brewing. I am drinking the Act of Faith right here. And this segment's going to be great because Grayson's going to do Start 'em, Sit 'em, and I'm just going to shout out positions and interject. And Hayden's going to have a question, and I'm going to sit here and drink a beer while you guys really do the heavy lifting. That's what it's like to be the host and the king of this show, that I can kind of do what I want and let you guys do the work. So in this segment, we always do Start 'em, Sit 'em. Steve and Grayson usually banter about. Now, full confession, I thought Steve was going to Chicago tomorrow. So about 5 minutes before the show, I was like, hey, man, aren't you going to Chicago tomorrow? He's like, I'm in Chicago right now. And I was like, oh, well, that puts a damper on things. So, and he had told me, it just, my brain didn't function the right way. So this week, Grayson is the Start 'em, Sit 'em. So now you only have one person to be mad about if this goes awry. But Grayson, let's start with quarterbacks and Start 'em, Sit 'em. Who you got?
No pressure at all to make sure I help everyone with their lineups this week. But yeah, so for the quarterback position, obviously, if you have the top guys, you're going to start those guys. Aaron Rodgers, start him this week. I consider him one of the top guys. Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, those should be obvious starts. I think after last week, Jalen Hurts should be an obvious start. He clearly is really upped his game and turned into a pretty good professional quarterback. So I'm excited to see how the rest of their season unfolds. So I'm gonna go a little bit deeper, try to find some guys who maybe you have some questions about and maybe see if I can't help you find the right start. So some guys that I like, a little bit lower on the radar. How about Baker Mayfield against the Houston Texans? I think he's a very good option this week. I think the Browns are going to put up some points. And the question with Baker every week is, will he throw touchdowns? Because obviously they're going to run the football a ton with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. But if he can just complete a few, I think he's got a chance to have a really nice week. I would play him over Jameis Winston. I'd play him over Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow. I'd play him over all of those guys. So he's a guy that I really like this week as a start. But honestly, the top 12 guys have great matchups, like Matthew Stafford against the Colts, Ryan Tannehill against the Seahawks. Like I like those matchups. So I think most of you are probably pretty happy with your starting quarterbacks this week. And so really, I think for sits, the guys that I have that you're going to sit are a little bit lower on the radar. Like I'm a little bit nervous to play Big Ben, to be perfectly honest, after that stinker against the Bills. A little bit nervous to play Kirk Cousins just because the Cardinals defense looked shockingly good this past week. So those are some guys I'm a little bit lower on. But like I said, your top option should be pretty good this week.
All right, let's go to running backs.
Okay, at the running back position, this is another one of those situations where it's a pretty favorable week for some guys who I think people were high on. But the first one that I want to talk about is Damian Harris. I talked about him last week. He had a really good week until he ran into Xavier Howard in the fourth quarter and fumbled the football, costing the Patriots the game. I don't think that's going to impact him this week just because Ramondre Stevenson also had a fumble in the game. And Damian Harris looked really good. So he's going to run all over the Jets. Really like him as a start this week. Another one, and I feel sad about saying this just because I hate it for the Colts, but Colts really didn't do a great job stopping Chris Carson last week. So I think Darrell Henderson could be a sneaky good play. You just need him to fall into the end zone. That's the biggest thing. He didn't do that in week one. If he does, I think he'll have a very, very good week. I also like both both of the Broncos running backs against Jacksonville this week. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams.
I like everyone who plays against Jacksonville every week.
Every week, and I hate everyone on the Jaguars except for maybe Laviska Shenault.
Yeah,
it's just a rough team.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Even James Robinson last week, you would have thought we'd gotten more. Apparently, Urban Meyer's not as high on him as he is on Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, that was Carlos Hyde got more carries than James Robinson. Yeah. Shocking. Yeah. I don't understand that at all.
Because he played for Urban Meyer at another place.
Exactly, which is not how an NFL coach should be doing it, but I'm not an NFL coach, so that's not up to me. But as far as guys I don't like this week, you just mentioned one, James Robinson. No, thank you. I need to see it to believe it. I can't play him. I won't play him. Nervous about that. Mike Davis, not playing him this week. Zero chance. You just saw Zeke go, 11 for 33? Mike Davis is way more washed than Zeke at this point.
The Cowboys didn't even and it wasn't even the Cowboys from the beginning didn't really give the ball to Zeke. They knew that they were gonna win the game by throwing the ball, and they were damn near right. The problem is they gave Tom Brady a minute and 24 seconds, which in Brady time is 12 minutes and 40 seconds. So to just get into field goal range, give him a degree of difficulty, please. It's like Simone Biles at the Olympics. The reason it's harder for her is she has a degree of difficulty. Do that for Brady. But, the Cowboys didn't even try, and most people won't. And it starts with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. If you can't get through those guys, or you can, then you've got Levante David and Devin White and all those guys. That's a good defense.
Yeah, it's a very good defense, and I think Mike Davis looked terrible in week one. They're going to be playing from behind, and it's not a good sign for them. Josh Jacobs, another guy, very nervous about this week at Pittsburgh.
Well,
he already didn't look good.
Well, and he scored some touchdowns, the other day in a great game, but that Raiders team is going to be up and down all year. He's not healthy either and may not even play in the first place. So I've got him on a team, and I drafted him very begrudgingly because I was in that 11th spot, which meant that whoever was drafting in front of or behind me took the guy I wanted and left me with guys like Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, and Kenyon Drake honestly looked better with the touches he got. That's just a scary situation. That's why I didn't draft any Josh Jacobs this year. But, hey, he scored twice, so I guess you can't be too upset.
Yeah. But I don't know if he's going to play. So. Right.
So that'll be interesting to monitor. So wide receivers, how about talk about them a little bit? Okay, so I love Tyler Lockett again this week. He torched the Colts last week. Now he gets to play the Titans, who just gave up 2 touchdowns to Christian Kirk out of the slot. Good luck against Tyler Lockett this week if you can't stop Christian Kirk, who's been very mediocre his entire career. So, Tyler Lockett, a guy that I love this week. Absolutely start him. I kind of like all the receivers for Tampa Bay, but I prefer Chris Godwin. I might be biased in that regard, but I think his targets are a little more valuable, and I think he's the only one with a safe floor every single week. So I like him again this week. I think he'll have a nice performance.
That doesn't mean to say you shouldn't play Mike Evans, who only had 3 points in most leagues last week. You should probably play Mike Evans because he's going to score touchdowns this year. But if you have Chris Godwin, like you said, value targets. He's the one, he is the trusted got to get a first down receiver for Tom Brady. That's what he is. And now Antonio
across the middle.
Yeah, and Antonio Brown had a fantastic week last week too. So dude looks back. So
yeah, you got to play these guys. You got to think this is what happened last year. Tom's going to target Mike Evans probably 10 times this week because he had a bad week. So I like the matchups for those receivers. A little bit deeper down, I'm excited for Jamar Chase this year, and I think he proved the doubters wrong and looked really good in week 1. I think he'll do the same thing against Chicago. And then a guy that I mentioned earlier, Mike Williams against the Cowboys. Love it. I think Mike Williams is going to be fantastic this year. I have him as a wide receiver 2 rest of season. So if you have him, draft him late, you should be really happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anything from tight ends? I mean, tight ends is kind of normal. It's George Kittle. It's Waller, who is, got targeted 30 times and caught 12 passes the other day. It's those guys and then the rest of them.
Yeah, Waller was absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen a guy get targeted like that in a long time. 19 targets. I mean, just ridiculous. If Derek Carr was a little more accurate, he might have had 18 catches
Yeah.
during that game. It was just insane. Love him. TJ Hawkinson is creeping up to that level. He got all kinds of targets. Mark Andrews, terrible week 1. A little nervous about him. Noah Fant, I love him with Jerry Jeudy out, so I think he's a guy that's kind of ascending as well. But a little bit deeper, if you're streaming tight ends, Tyler Higbee, love him against the Colts this week. I just like him in general. I think he's going to have a really nice year for the Rams. 6 targets week 1, explosive offense. If they're ever playing from behind, I think Higbee could have a monster performance.
And his quarterback
as well.
Yeah, his quarterback's gotten a lot better. And yes. Matthew Stafford. Yeah. So that position, it makes Robert Woods, who I've drafted several times and didn't this year just because I thought it was him. Now I'm knowing it was Jared Goff. First week you can see that Matthew Stafford's going to spread the ball around and spread around a lot, and that's a perfect fit there with Sean McVay. I think that division's going to be fantastic to watch this year, especially now that Stafford's in it. So. But yeah, I like Higbee with him this year for sure. So good stuff on Stardom Sit 'em. When we come back, we draft our team for the Showdown on Thursday night, and we do our daily fantasy picks this week. Probably a lot from that Chargers-Cowboys game. This is the Fantasy Football Show brought to you by Brotherwell Brewing here in Waco. Check out brotherwell.com. We'll be back in a moment. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina alongside Grayson Grunhafer. Steve May is in Chicago, and I teased that Hayden Bumpus, our producer, had a question that Grayson will answer, and I will add my little spice to it. Grayson, I'm sorry, are you ready for Bump's question?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
I'm excited.
All right, Bump, go ahead.
Yeah, you kind of hit on it a little bit with Mike Evans was one of my questions, so now I'm going to play him. But Saquon, I don't know what to do. Do I sit? Do I start? I have the Denver running back you're talking about, Javonte Williams. Is that the play?
Well, okay, so actually I want you to tell me who do you have as your backups for Mike Evans? First of all, I'm just curious.
Laviska Shenault Jr., Marquez Callaway. Yeah, those two.
Oh my gosh.
Which are both solid.
You gotta
receivers.
play Mike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta play Mike. As far as the other one, man, that's hard. I'm gonna regret saying this. I think you have to play Saquon, but it wouldn't shock me if Javonte had a really good week. The problem is who breaks the 70-yard touchdown run this week? Is it Melvin Gordon or Javonte? Last week it was Melvin. So you're kind of guessing there, even though I do think both will have some success.
Well, the other thing is this problem might work itself out for you, Hayden, in that Saquon may not even play.
Right.
So you just have to watch until game time tomorrow. And, 7:02, you may be changing your roster. So just be on the lookout for that. That's the biggest thing is those Thursday games really put a wrench in things. And Saquon is questionable. He's listed as questionable. So it may work itself out for you.
Well, all right, I'll keep an eye on it then, and hopefully I can pull out a win.
Okay. All right, Grayson, daily fantasy. Some of these things in Stardom Sit 'em are overlaps, but daily fantasy is a different animal. So things to look out for in daily fantasy this week.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good options that you can go to. And, last week we did a competition. I got third, and I'm trying to correct my ways a little bit. I'm still, daily fantasy, I've been doing it for 2 years now because we've been doing a lot of daily fantasy leagues. But, this week I'm really targeting that Dallas Chargers matchup. So I did a lineup this week. For instance, I have Herbert, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb, Jared Cook. I have all 4 of them in my lineup for this week just because I'm really excited about the potential outcome. I love Mike Williams as well, if you want to save money a little bit. But he's costing $6,000, and so he's 6,000. CeeDee Lamb 6,400. It's hard for me to take Mike Williams over CeeDee Lamb, especially without Michael Gallup there. So those are some to look at. I mean, Jamar Chase 5,000. Love that. He's going to be pretty cheap this week. Laviska Shenault also under 5,000, so cheap as well. But yeah, I'm targeting that specific matchup for sure. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give. And also, I would say save money on the quarterback position this week. There's a ton of good matchups, whether it's Jalen Hurts against San Francisco, Stafford against Indy, Prescott, Herbert against each other, Tom Brady. You don't have to spend up on Kyler or Josh Allen this week because I think you can save a little bit of money there.
There you go. All right, good advice. Okay, Giants, Washington football team, Thursday night matchup for our Showdown League. Grayson, I will give you the first pick in our Showdown League. Now, you get a Showdown captain at a $50,000 budget, and you draft a roster of 6 players. And the Showdown captain costs, more money, and then you get more points for them if they do have a good night. We did a great job picking our captain last week in Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and I had that pick last week, so now there's a lot of pressure here to get it right again.
After Antonio Brown, I don't know, they're all great. We had some good ones, but we could have done one better. So
yeah, this is going to be a weird one.
Well, this is not a whole lot. This is the Giants and the football team here. So Ryan Fitzpatrick is out and Taylor Heineke starting. I doubt we're going to take Taylor Heineke. Yeah.
Is it weird that I want to take the Washington football team's defense
as the captain?
Do that as the captain?
You can.
Is the ceiling too limited?
No, hey, 8,400.
What do you think? Should we save that for a position? Yeah, let's save it for a position. I'll pick them later. Let's go with how about a high upside play?
Okay.
How about we're just hoping on the big play? So how about Slayton? Let's go with him as our captain.
Okay, 9,900.
Yeah, save some money there.
Okay. All right. So not knowing that Saquon Barkley is going to play or not, I'm going to avoid him like the plague this week. And for 9,600, I'm going to go Antonio Gibson.
Love it. We need that safe floor with Gibson for sure. My pick's going to be the football team, so we'll go ahead and put them in at 5,600 for one of our other flexes.
Okay. Good deal. All right. So then going back to that, I don't really want to pick either quarterback here, Grayson.
I'm nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. So, seeing as the Washington defense could get good again at any time, they didn't have a great week last week against Taylor Herbert, but Justin Herbert against Justin Herbert. But this is Daniel Jones. He's a different animal, so I'm not going to take that risk. I will take Scary Terry McLaurin, even though he is catching passes from Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke and he have worked together for a little while, so there is some chemistry there. So I'm going Scary Terry.
Yeah, I love that pick. That's who I was going to go with if you didn't. So
we have 15-9 left, so we've been well within the budget to take 2 good players here.
Yeah. Oh man, the tough decision coming up. You know what? I'm going to go with the guy who I think is for sure going to get targets over the guy who might have the big game. We took the big play guy with Slayton, so let's go with the PPR machine. Let's go with Sterling Shepard this week.
Sterling Shepard. All right, so that leaves basically 2 choices if we're not going to take either quarterback, and I'm not going to do that to us. And Saquon Barkley is off the table either way now because we're at 7,900 and he's at 10,000, so we're out of budget. We're out of budget for Kenny Golladay, which means that the one choice I think we have here is Logan Thomas. So that's where I'm going to go. Logan Thomas, hopefully get some touchdowns out of him and win some money here. Otherwise, I mean, you go down past the rest of the guys we can't get. Adam Humphries, Giants defense, Dustin Hopkins, Graham Gano, Kyle Rudolph, Devin Booker, J.D. McKissick, Kadarius Toney. I mean, I think that's our best option, Grayson.
It's rough. If you want to go with a deep name, if you're making your own at home and you want to save a lot of money, say you want Saquon or you want the quarterbacks, I think Diami Brown is a little interesting. Obviously, we're not going to take him this week, but he's an interesting one. I like our team, though. I think we got some upside. The problem is we have a lot of skill position guys, which means we're banking on these quarterbacks actually being able to complete a few passes in this game.
Well, this is a tough one. This is maybe one of the tougher ones we have all year. So that's it. I'm booking it right now, entering $5. Done. We're in.
We're winning money this week. I can feel it.
Yeah. I did a $5 one this week. I don't know why I did that instead of a $1 one, given the matchup. But $5, we're in.
This is a horrible matchup for that.
It's a horrible matchup, right? But listen, you don't win big unless you bet big. So that's what we're doing this week.
It's going to be like 14-13, the final score. But Darius Slayton's going to have both touchdowns for the Giants. So
here's the deal. Even if it's low, if we got the right guys, we got the right guys. That's all that matters. That's all that matters, and hopefully the right captain. All right, that's going to do it for us. I'm Paul Kedlina alongside Grayson Gruntafer. Steve May back next week. Thanks to Hayden Bumpus for producing. Please like and subscribe on the 365 Sports NFL channel and the 365 Sports main YouTube channel. Just like and subscribe on both. It's not going to, it's not going to burn any calories. Just do it. It's easy. You can. It'll make you feel better as a human being and might help achieve world peace. I can't say that for sure, but I can't say for sure that it won't. So might as well err on the side of world peace. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Brotherwell Brewing. Check out brotherwell.com. And, of course, follow them on Instagram and social media. I'll be at Brotherwell Thursday night, September 16th, doing trivia. So if you're in Waco and want to come hang out and do some trivia, come out and do that. I'll be there. Hang out with me. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Hayden Bumpus. Once again, this is the Fantasy Football Show on 365 Sports.